we are putting together a coaching program, a service that we offer together. And I see is we cover more bases working together than we do individually.
Confidence levels, that kind of thing, has impacted me my whole life. How I felt stuck before, how I've not known what I want to do, what's my purpose.
Okay.
Hey, welcome to Neuro and Beyond with Simon and Angela. Who says the meds aren't working?
Okay, so how did it go yesterday with you, Paul?
The counselling, the counselling's a face-to-face one. And it's interesting because, when I arranged the counselling, I was in a bit of a low mood. And I had been for a week or two and, was, kind of struggling to move out of it. And it was affecting all different areas of my life. So I was like, right, well, I know I'll contact the EAP, the Employee Assistance Program, through my work, and had the initial chat with them where I thought it was I needed help with, like, some sort of ADHD counselling, kind of dealing with all the stuff that is brought up. And then had a wonderful conversation with a woman at the provider, and who we talked through it, and she was very good. She's very understanding, very empathetic, and yeah, it was just and she'd mentioned about, maybe CBT, because what they offer is a CBT course for people with ADHD, whereas where you'd have interactions with an ADHD counsellor, or the counselling, which is non-ADHD specific, so you're not guaranteed to get an ADHD counsellor. So I was kind of thinking down the CBT route first, even though I've said to you before, CBT and me, we don't have a great history. Because the primary thing with CBT is that you've really got to play an active part in it. You've got to do work outside of it. And the one that I'd had ended up being a group session, which, isn't the most effective way of doing it. And anyway, so then you've got to have like I forget what it's called. It's like an assessment,
Yeah.
that checks that you're all right and that they're going down the same route, and checking your mood, that you're not in a bad place. But I didn't have time to do it on that call, so I had to call them back, and I did it. As often happens, I sat on it for about a week. Called them back, and my mood had changed a bit since my initial call, and I spoke to somebody else, and we went through this assessment. It was supposed to be like half an hour, and I think I said to you, it's no surprise, my call lasted about an hour, as we kind of talked through all sorts of things. And this lady, again, different lady, very good, really listened to what I said. And we kind of built, I think we kind of, I kind of started thinking it's more about, or prior to the call, I started thinking maybe my issues more in my perceived lack of self-confidence and self-esteem, so how I see myself, and how that doesn't match up with how other people see me. Because, with ADHD, we've spoken about, masking, how you take on all these, like, you're influenced throughout your life, whether you're neurodivergent or not. You are influenced by people, but as a neurodivergent, you tend to take on a lot more of the characteristics, thoughts, opinions of those around you. So you never, I felt that or my opinion on it is that you never really find your true self, because you're too busy looking at everybody around you and kind of picking up, oh, they think that, so I must think that, or they like that, so then I should like that. And you never, because you're doing that, you're never really looking at yourself. And it's like, well, what do I like? What do I want? And because you're doing that, you don't really have the chance to build good self-esteem. So I came to that, and I was chatting to this lady on the helpline, And she said, well, I don't think the CBT thing's going to be right for you because it's more about living day to day with ADHD, about time management and all that kind of stuff. And that's, whilst it's not my strong point, it's not a big issue. It's not having a huge impact on my life. Whereas how I view myself, confidence levels, that kind of thing, has impacted me my whole life. And we've talked about how I felt stuck before, how I've not known what I want to do, what's my purpose. And since taking the medication, it's something I've really, with the clear head and the thinking space, it's really given me an opportunity to look at that and kind of dissect it. So long and short is we decided to try the counselling. So this week was my second one, and we sort of picked up on some of the things I'd spoken about in my first session. And this week was more about what's important to me. And it's the same thing like with coaching is, when you're coaching somebody, you're looking at the areas of their life, of an individual's life, that and how they rate it in terms of importance. It's like, what's your driver? What's more important to you? Love, family, work, health, whatever. And we were talking through it, and we kind of got onto the subject of my job at the moment, and kind of the situations that have been going on there, and how you know, I've found it quite unsettling. And she said, "Well, what do you enjoy about it?" And it's like, "Well, I really enjoy speaking to new people. I get a lot out of it. I love meeting volunteers, on Teams calls and things. Um, and it's like largely because I get a lot out of it. We have obviously parameters of what we need them to do, in terms of commitment and skills and all that kind of whether they're a right fit. But out of these conversations, it's like you learn about new people, you find out about them, and there's often a common thread running through it with, being the mental health charity that a lot of people have had some experience, personal experience or experience of those around them with mental health issues. As there's that common theme, but around that is so much. And when you're talking to people in these kind of environments, they're much more open about discussing things, and I find it just fascinating. And so she really picked up on that. She said, "So, working with people is really important to you." And I was like, "Yes, but it has to be in a certain way." And it's like how we've talked about, coaching, how we're going to, create the business that we're going to run. And she was saying, well, what would that look like? What sort of people would you want to work with? And because I was saying, it's very, in terms of me getting this level of enjoyment or satisfaction, whatever you want to, however you want to call it, out of these interactions, it's with people who are bought in. They're there because they want to do it.
Yeah.
And it's the same with coaching. So I don't want to work with people who think we're going to do all the work for them, who are coming into it thinking there's going to be a quick fix, we give them all the answers, and then life's going to be wonderful. It really is working with people who are engaged, who are bought into the whole process, the ethos of who we are and what we want to do and how we can help.
Yeah.
But with the understanding that they have to do the work and they're willing to do the work. And then it was like, what else important? I was saying environment. The environment in which I work in is important.
Yeah.
And I haven't worked in an environment that has, and I can look back through my whole career, I haven't worked in an environment that was conducive to me. Because either you're sitting in an office with a bunch of people who, are there because they've got to do a job, and it is generally a job, with conflicting personalities, conflicting expectations, all that kind of thing. So an big open plan offices where it's just overwhelming for somebody like me, just noise.
Yeah.
And you like feel like you're really under the spotlight. Everyone can see you, hear every conversation, phone call you're having. Don't like it. And all the strip lighting. And it's just, it's horrible. So I was kind of like building this image of how I perceive, what I think would work for me. And I'm like, I'm thinking of a nice, warm room that, that people come into and instantly feel calm, instantly feel this is welcoming, this is a nice place. Because one, they're great to work in. When you're in an environment that's really conducive to you, so not lots of, phones, computer monitors,
Yeah.
lots, and, decor, plants, warm, sun, big window, all that kind of stuff. It creates a sense of that's what almost it's one less thing that I have to try and block out.
Yeah.
It's something that you can kind of, you move into it. It becomes part of the whole process. I just said, well, it sounds like you know what you want then. And it's like, yes, I do. I think I do know what I want,
Yeah.
But then I said, but then the issue is, how do I get it?
Yeah.
And but then, I had that kind of realization of, because I'm quite at peace with everything that's come before. There's nothing that, is upsetting or triggering me that I think, I need to understand why that person was like that or why my relationships were like that. Yeah. So as I say, I'm quite at peace with all of that. So, and so the issues that I face is like, what is, it brings me back every time. It's like, what's my purpose? How am I going to, well, I think I've identified it in terms of that.
Yeah.
It is, whatever it is, it's going to be helping people.
Yeah.
And, how we talk about how we're going to, our business is going to be for those. I don't know if we really covered it in our conversations before.
Right.
It might be a good idea to mention it now.
It will be.
Yeah. Do you want to?
Yeah.
I'll let you talk about it. I'll let you.
Okay. Yeah. So from the beginning of our paths crossing, we very much started to take this journey of skills quality in terms of recognizing, in terms of being able to put them together to create a great whole. And what I mean by that is my skills with coaching, with energetic work, with intuition, with the psychic work, and then Simon's skills with the lived experience of ADHD, neurodivergence, and as I saw very quickly, his skills in being able to connect to people, being able to click the intuition in and to understand them on a deeper level, especially those who are neurodivergent. And certainly from my point of view, is the area that I would love to be a facilitator within in terms of coaching and energetic reading is that area that it's got the most need, as in men, the suicide rate that covers that, the age range young men, and late diagnosis of neurodivergence, and all of the background and backstory that comes with that. That area is certainly what I would love to, and I do to a degree. It's kind of, I've been dropped into that area in my personal life, in working with Simon, and the connections have been, and the connection have almost shown themselves to me, and then it's up to me to pick up. And so what Simon and I got to so far is from the podcast and the connections and the understanding we have of how our skills can coalesce to help facilitate people's movement forward where they have that need for the self-awareness and coaching, counselling, or whatever you want to call it. We're not quite sure what to call it yet. So we've decided that we are at the point where we are putting together a few parameters, I suppose, for a business, a coaching program, a service that we offer together. And that I see is kind of, we cover more bases working together than we do individually. And that I believe is our key. And we will have programs and ways of you being able to structure your movement through and around what we do, because we will work together as like a triangle, I suppose. But if you feel like you just want to, well, can you do this? Can you help me with that? Whatever. And it to be organic in terms of what you want, you don't really know, then you just start the process. That's all that needs to be done, is to make that connection. So we're open to the connections to start where you want to start and where we can start, and we just open the conversation from there. So that's my view on it. Yours?
Yeah, I mean, mine is, exactly what you've said.
That's
We
good.
went up, maybe not in such fine words.
Get on.
No, I think it's very much as we've said before, as you've mentioned there. From the moment our paths crossed and our conversation started, before we even started recording them or doing the podcasts, was how we recognized the skills and the strengths in each other that possibly we didn't see in ourselves.
Yeah.
And how those skills and strengths and qualifications together form this really strong basis for creating, as we say, we haven't come up with what the term is, but a form of coaching that is specific for people with ADHD. Not necessarily excluding anybody else, but in terms of lived experience and looking at the things that I feel that I would have benefited from the day that, it first came to my mind that I might be ADHD, whether it's people who are right at the start of their journey, who suspect they may be neurodivergent, those who are recently diagnosed, those who are into their journey, those who are being coming up for becoming medicated, those who have known they've been ADHD or neurodivergent their whole lives, but have this feeling of being stuck. Because that is a huge thing with ADHD. There seems to be, the more interactions I have, the more things I read, the more things I see, there seems to be two kinds of ADHDers, generally speaking, in terms, and what I mean by that is you have the ADHDers who have been in the same job since they left school, university, whatever, who have found a way to structure their lives. But there is a underlying feeling of unmet needs or unmet potential. And then you have this other group, which I firmly put myself in, is where you've struggled. You don't know why. You don't know what it is. You don't know why you've had this particularly difficult or turbulent life, because, there may not have been any particular trigger. I'm not talking about people who have experienced severely traumatic events. I'm talking about people who it's just never felt settled. And that's shown in their education, where they've struggled through that, maybe not achieved the level of educational qualification that that they're capable of, as in whatever certificate is doesn't match the intellect that they have. And then into the work life, into careers where they chop and change jobs on a fairly regular basis. Because again, they can't seem to settle. They're not satisfied. There isn't that thing that gives them that, yeah, this is what I'm meant to be doing, or I really enjoy what I do. And then obviously that reflects in relationships and everything else. And so it's finding these people where they are listening to what they feel their issues are, or what they're struggling with, and what they think they want. And I use the word think because often we focus, or our attention goes to something that we think that will make everything okay. If I do this, then if I can get that, whether it be finding a career that you get great personal satisfaction from, or financial reward, or qualifications, whatever it is, that they think, if I get that, then everything will be okay. And quite often, what you'll find is that when you really start diving into it, really start digging into, okay, well, where's that coming from? Why is that why do you think that's you're going to be your pinnacle of achievement? Why do you think that's your kind of end destination? That often those conversations lead somewhere entirely different. And these things that they've created, or these things these destinations they're manifesting, or thinking that, yeah, this is what I should be. And I hate the word should. We talk about it another day. Is based on things that they've picked up. It's like, well, my friends are doing well in their careers and they seem happy. Or, these friends are financially secure, they seem happy. Or, oh, my friend, they've been married for 30 years and they seem happy. And so if I get that, then I'll be happy. But they won't be, because it's not them.
Yeah.
It's not built around their own values. And once you can dive down into that and really understand who that person is, what drives them, that they'll come out of this heading in a completely different direction that they possibly had never thought of.
Yeah.
And then they will find, I'm not saying happiness, joy, whatever, they will find, I would say, more fulfillment, because it will be based on their values.
Yeah.
And that's what Angela and I want to do. We want to use my experiences, qualifications, Angela's qualifications and experience, and help people navigate what can be a really complex, difficult journey if you undertake it by yourself. It's like going on an adventure, as in, like, if you're going traveling, if you go to a new place, you go to a new country with different culture, different food, different music, different sounds, different everything. If you go there by yourself, you understand, I'm gonna do this by myself. And you wander around, and you see things, you experience things, and then you finish it and you come back and you go, oh, that was good. That was good. I enjoyed that. I don't feel I got the whole experience. Whereas if you travel to this new place and you hire a local guide, and they go, I'm going to take you away from the main street, the main markets, all the tourists go there. We're going to go here. I'm going to take you to this restaurant that's down this back street that no one else knows about. I'll take you there. Best chef in the city. I'm going to take you to this beach. No, it's not the main beach that everybody goes to, where all the touts are, the market trade, all of that. No, this beach, private beach, beautiful sunsets, silky sand, beautiful. I'm going to take you there. This place, I know this. A friend of mine runs this bar. Beautiful music. They have live music every night. Local, absolutely amazing. You go in there, you have an incredible experience. And you come back from that holiday or that experience richer for it.
Yeah.
And you would never have known about that because you weren't using your local guide. And that's where coaching comes into it. You've got people who have gone through these things, who have experience of this, understand the framework of coaching, but also understand the emotional, turmoil, trip hazards along the way, the inside scoop, as you will. And they'll get you to your destination quicker, more fulfilled, and all round in a more positive way.
Yeah. Even if you don't know where that destination is.
No. And it may be that it doesn't get you to your destination, but it puts you on the right path to it, because it's that thing of, I went out for a walk yesterday, and I was walking up the road. It's a long straight road home, and I sort of had my earpods in, so I've got to be able, I'm quite cautious of when I cross roads and things these days with my earpods in. I've been that once or twice before, so I'm quite cautious of it. Sun's there. It's a tree lined avenue. And there was like cars parked up ahead of me. The road that I was getting to was just up ahead. And I sort of turned around and looked, and there was this long path behind me with nothing in it. And then up ahead was this little bit that I had to navigate. So there's cars parked, people coming, and I had to navigate my way through it. And I kind of looked at it as, what's behind me? It's done. It's clear. That path has been walked.
Yeah.
But up ahead, there's less distance for me to travel, but there's objects for me to navigate. I'm not where I want to be, but I've got to get through this bit to get where I need to go as well. And all that stuff behind me, I don't need it. That baggage, that, I don't need to keep looking back there, because that's the old life. That's the past life. This is my future. This is where I am now. That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
And there's, things to navigate.
Yeah, that presence that you talk about there, that being in the now, is so important, and not looking back over and not dredging up all of that baggage within the past. For me, what's really important in the now is that all of that past path has given you what you have now. So what you have now, and how how you think about things, your perspective, how you're made up, how you choose to be, is about the coaching is about the self-awareness. So that's what I love to do, is to help people dig and dig and dig to get their self-awareness, the parts, sometimes it's called shadow work, the parts within the unconscious that people aren't aware of. And that can be the behaviors and the patterns that they can't see that they wish to change. And it can be the skills and the qualities that aren't recognized there. So it's a really lovely analogy of having that path in the past being just open, and I've been there, done that. So now let's not go back over all of those, all of the steps in that path, but let's see what it's done for you.
I want you to, can we take a break for a minute? I swear to God, these tablets are bloody diuretic. Sorry about that. But you know what? There was a time, not that long ago, where I would have suffered through making myself sit here doing all of this because I would feel bad about or embarrassed about having to get up and go to the loo. That was conditioning from the workplace, sitting in meetings and wanting to move, but to sit there and focus and try and pay attention. But you're so focused on trying to pay attention that you're not paying attention. Yeah.
It's a wonderful point, actually, because from an energetic point of view, when people keep clearing their throats, there is something to say. There is something, this throat chakra system, the energetic system here is blocked in. There is something coming to the service. Yeah, maybe. Surface. to be spoken. And if you link that with always wanting to pee or needing to pee at the same time, it doesn't matter what the body has gone to cause it. The body being the great barometer that it is, if we only read it, letting go of emotions as well. So from that kind of falls in line with what you would the process you're going through, and get into the points you've got to with your knowing what your purpose is and things like that. I would say your body is now saying, right, I am clearing out this stuckness, clearing the speech, clearing the emotions, which is peeing, and I'd say from reading that body barometer message, you're getting to a really good point. And
I'd agree. Because I mean, as I was, I mean, just
there you go.
I think it's a cold, but I'll go with you.
Well, no, it could be absolutely a cold, but the body accepts the virus to bring about the manifestation of the energy being released. So
yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting because this week I have been in a much clearer headspace about what I need, what I want.
yeah,
I was sat there in the counselling thing going, maybe I don't have an issue with self-esteem. Maybe I don't have an issue with confidence. And this is where I think this kind of makes, this kind of is a real ADHD thing, because I belong to some Facebook groups on different areas of ADHD. So one is people who take the same medication as me. And somebody had posted on there this morning about their mood and how, like, they woke up this morning and they can't stop crying and they seem to feel so much, and and maybe that's a good thing, and it really got me thinking. As I tried to respond to a lot of the comments, because these groups are great in some ways, but really bad in others, because everybody recounts kind of like their personal experience with it.
yeah,
And the trouble with that is they are individual responses. And so other people go, well, I don't feel that. That's not what I get. I don't get that on the medication. How come you're getting that and I don't? And maybe I shouldn't be on this medication and all that shit.
yeah,
And so I try to go on there and I'm like, I was chatting to her about mood, and I say, yeah, the thing with ADHD is that our moods really fluctuate. And I had this, as I was saying, I was having this conversation with the counsellors, because they do the scale of, how are you feeling this week compared to last week, and all that shit. And I was like, last week I was really low. It was like fucking almost like zero kind of level.
yeah.
Where they go, are you suicidal? So no, my mood's just really shit. I feel really crap.
Yeah.
I can't see. Oh, just
Yeah.
life is grey, all that. And then this week, it's like, oh, about 1.5. It's just a scale of 3. It's like, yeah, about 1.5 this week or today. And I was like, tomorrow might be completely different, because it is so much like that. Our moods are so impacted by so many things.
Yeah.
And coincidentally or purposefully, the universe throwing my way this morning, I saw an Instagram reel where someone was talking about how ADHD now, how, us living today is harder being ADHD than it was 40 years ago, not in terms of awareness of it, but in terms of the things that we have to survive
Yeah.
or tolerate. It's certain, lighting, phones, binging, tinging, blinging, all this noise all the time. There is so much distraction now that there wasn't 40 years.
Yeah.
And that instantly impacts mood. There's more processed food now
Yeah.
than there ever was. That it's readily accessible. It's easier to get and more affordable to buy shitty processed food than it is to buy fresh food, which is ridiculous. And processed food, we all know, affects how your body reacts to processed food.
Yeah.
That's why so many ADHDs have gut problems.
Yep.
And I can testify that since I started this medication, and cut out all my 95% of my snacking, my gut problems have almost gone away.
Yeah.
And I'm on a waiting list because of stomach problems with the hospital to have gallstone surgery.
Right.
And it's like, well, actually, maybe that's not the issue here. And so you throw that in, and then you throw in, I don't know, everything is so fast now. Everything, got to do this, got to be there. Everybody's got this expectation on, extreme being successful. You've got to be successful. You've got to have, if you haven't got, if you don't buy crypto, if you don't have a holiday home in France, if you don't have 2 cars, if you don't have 4 holidays a year, then you're not a success. There's all of that shit. And so no wonder your mood's all over the place.
Yeah.
Because we have problems with impulse control, rejection sensitivity, dope, we're constantly like trying to, those of us who are, we're unmedicated generally, searching for those dopamine boosts, which are readily available in all poor forms, brings into addiction, comes into that. And, if you're struggling with your mental health, you're more likely to use some form of, what's the right word, something unhealthy to mask it or try and help with, so I use the word help. Whereas it's not the addiction that's the problem. That's a side effect. It's what is the issue?
Yeah.
That's just masking whatever the issue. That's your coping mechanism for what is the issue. And it's just something, so it's no wonder to me why my moods, and throw in sleep problems. Sleep is so up and down.
Yeah.
The lack of sleep or poor sleep is like, you compare it to being drunk the next day. If you are that tired, if you're not sleeping, your brain is impaired in a similar way to being drunk. And so when you throw all of that stuff in, it's no wonder that moods fluctuate so much.
Yeah.
And so it's like trying to find or recognizing, and this brings me back to before I had to go off for a pee, where we were talking about, don't worry about that, don't worry about that, worry about now. Is like, if you look at now, if you live in the moment, if you think about how you're feeling now, where you are now, and we spend that time, that mindfulness time, that time being mindful of what you're doing, how you're identifying those feelings. And, as I said to the lady on the Facebook post this morning, if you can identify that feeling, you can work out which one it is, and then look at why are you getting that feeling, what's causing that feeling. And if it's a negative feeling and you can identify what's causing it, you can then take action. But if you're looking ahead, if you're so focused on the future, or you're still looking over your shoulder at the past, you're not doing the work. You can't do the work to see what's causing your problem now. And because the thing is, you can't get to the future. You can't get to the future you want if you don't know where you are now. And that's where our coaching, but it's where our business is going to come into this, is finding people where they are now and making them, forcing them. No, gently encouraging. I'm going to say gently encouraging. I'm joking. Gently encouraging them to look at what it is now, where they are, what they're feeling, why are you feeling that way, what's causing that feeling, and what action can you take to change that, to get you into the direction you want to move in, or change the way you feel about things, the way you feel about yourself, the way you feel about, change, maybe, setting goals or changing your goals that are more reflect, what you want, what you need. And I think that's largely more what we should be focusing on. It's like, what do I need? Not what do I want? Because want is a fantasy, it's an imagination, it's something we can conjure up. But what do I need? It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Once you've sorted out, shelter and heating and food, everything else
Yeah.
is a bonus. Then you have your relationships. You'll work on, if I've got these sorted, I can work on my relationships. What do I need out of a friendship?
Yeah.
And that was something. So I'm on a roll today,
You're
an
so on
absolute.
a roll.
And this is what I think. This is why we need, we should call these conversations with Simon and Angela, or Simon's off and one again. And then I'm just distracting myself enough to forget what I was
Oh,
going to
you
say.
lost it now. Oh.
No, I'm gonna go. I'm not. What was I just talking about? I was talking about knees. I was talking about. And I was going to say something came up in my counselling yesterday. That was it. Um, uh, and this was what I found. Something that this was my kind of like a self-discovery yesterday, was when we were talking about, when do I feel good? What makes me, if I'm in a low mood, what are the things that can change that? I said conversations, deep, meaningful,
Yeah.
thoughtful conversations, like the ones I have with Angela, the ones I have with my friend Alan, the ones that I'm having with my counsellor now. I'm lifted, I'm mentally stimulated. And when I'm mentally stimulated, my mood changes.
Yeah, I would take from that, that is closer to what we are trying to define, or maybe it shouldn't be defined, in what we offer. And what comes out to me is you're a natural explorer, and it's the explorer of the self. So being intellectually stimulated means you're exploring all of the avenues, and you're exploring all of that within you. And that is often cut off with neurodivergence, like you said before, when the intellect doesn't quite match the qualification during school. And like I've said to you before, I I love your mind. You have high intellect, and that's what I love to talk to, and to it make you fascinate me. People's minds fascinate me. And I think it's so interesting to see how all the neural pathways or how they link up, and to see if some of those can be strengthened or perhaps clicked into a different pattern. Or but that exploration is self-awareness, and that leads you into more of, oh, the more I know of me, the more I know I can be, the more I know I am. And there's more and more. It's like within the universe, the more you find out, the more you find you don't know. And
Oh, that what do they say? The one thing I know is that I know nothing.
yeah, yeah. So that exploration, in terms of giving the energy boost and the lift, I think is something that we work on, probably without knowing. But you have just articulated that really nicely. And working in with someone who wishes to start that exploration with us,